You feel that there's nothing wrong with your life.
Exactly. Boom. That's, do you see the power of the anti-curse?
Yeah.
If you look here, let's go back to the three functions. Which function does this statement imply? This is the one you said. That's really powerful. There's nothing wrong with your life. What is that? How is that a divine direction?
God wants you to be happy and feel like there's nothing wrong with your life. God's will for you is always in the direction of love, always in the direction of good. God wants what's good for you.
Can you be happy right now with the things you already have?
Yes.
Are you grateful for the things you already have?
Yes.
And that is God's will for you. I create another one for for just, you're gonna just adjust the copy for a new ad group. You know, you could actually include trauma, because trauma, is about, is probably what, I mean, we could use that as one of the descriptive headlines, because
Yeah.
some people have trouble staying in the present because of trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
That, and then also, if there's room, oh, there's no room. Okay.
Maybe excessive writing is one of the most effective ways of transforming trauma and staying present or something.
Mm-hmm. It's 5, 2. I'm typing the schedule on a separate doc right now that you can't see. Wednesdays starts at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah, americapromise.org.
America Promise Lines. Oh, okay. So even we get even more specific with these, and these are all have to do with the arts, I guess, right here.
I screenshotted the Connolly Foundation logo or icon, and then I click into it, and these are all the details. Now I copy and pasted their details. You don't have to. It's basically for you, your reference, because you're in charge of this card. So I'm joining this one. This means Minji is in charge of the Connolly Foundation. So all you had to do was click join. And then I could add members to the card if I wanted to, but this one is solely my responsibility. So I'm like, you could write whatever you want, like however you want to do this, it's totally fine. You could attach materials, whatever it is you want to do. All right, sorry, these are called bad inner scripts or shadows.
Okay.
Which are statements we tell ourselves internally. These internal scripts are your bad roots. All right, journal artist 1 now listens to
bad branches,
bad person's bad root script one at a time, and asks journal artist 2 what branches show up when you hear this particular script.
Like, although everything was hurting her, she's fighting that feeling because it's like you're fighting with yourself to move on. And that's why that goes hand in hand with the letting it all come out so that you can then heal yourself. So I thought that was important for her to see that it's okay to hurt and let it hurt. And that's something she could relate to. And that was a fictional story about Maddie, who she can use that and put herself in those shoes. So then I did not being strong. And she's not feeling strong right now, but she needs to realize that to feel strong, she needs to focus on the things that she can change, and that she has power in, you know, giving herself love, care, and compassion, treating herself as she would someone else.
2021, and I am committed now more than ever to put it out and just to say that you know, go for your why you're doing it. If you're feeling doubtful or fearful, just do your why. So that's the editing, and then there's something called phase 3, where is something about purchase book formatting software.
Right. But even here, where it says love your neighbor when it's not convenient, that's kind of like Peter's doubt when the circumstances have changed.
Yes.
Yeah, because the Good Samaritan did it out of his way. He went out of his way to help this man. It was not on his way. It was out of his way.
The second way to do it is we can look at our expenses, right? What does it look like to what does the infrastructure look like? What does it look like we actually pay people to go to schools to teach teachers, right? And then what is the arbitrary cost that you want to you know, associate with the licensing?
I guess he's almost saying, you know, it is better to serve the Lord as being unbound because there is greater freedom in it. But if you have those desires and those passions, you know, you can pursue that within, you know, holiness and godliness, but not to pursue it just for the sake of pursuing it, I guess.
Yeah, write that down first.
Ah, crap.
How do we know if we're known by God? If knowledge, if we think we know, but we actually don't know.
I think in that regards, that knowledge is more referring to worldly knowledge. Like when we say, oh, he's knowledgeable, as being smart, but that's more what puffs us up, of just assuming we know something, knowing something for knowing's sake, and kind of believing we have all the answers, which is a little bit more in the opposite direction of what love is, where love is humble and it doesn't assume, in a sense, I think is where it's saying. So like we possess knowledge, like we want to know things, we think we know things, but in actuality we really don't, I think, until we're faced with the love of God, and then we know how little we actually know.
The walk of the divine feminine is to know faith, to fall in faith, to fall asleep in faith, knowing that one day she will be resurrected.
Yeah, I believe that.
And that is the true beauty and esoteric knowledge of God's love.
Right.
And they don't teach you that in church.
No.
But it's the truth.
Yeah, no, they just like to bash women like crazy. I've seen them, and it's so hurtful. It's like
that, you know, they were deceived by Eve. and that's a life lie. That's literally a life lie. The truth is, he willingly fell for her. The original Adam, the pre-fall Adam, is courageous. And you know why we know he's courageous? Because he truly had love and compassion for his woman. He did not want her to die alone. So he bit so he could suffer with her. And that's an act of courage. Pre-fall Adam and Eve were designed in love. God did not make a mistake. Okay? They were not flawed when they bit the fruit. They were 100% in love. One bit in faith and the other bit in compassion. Eve bit in faith of God's love as good, and Adam bit in compassion so that Eve will not have to suffer alone. And those are the real reasons why they bit. And how I know that is because I have absolute faith that God's love is defined in 1 Corinthians 13. If I was a lawyer and I was defending God's character, I would show the evidence that, no, you know what, because God is love, there's no way he would have created them pre-fall to be ambitious and self-centered. So the minute she fell and she noticed that the snake had deceived her, she pivoted her focus from her spiritual nature to the carnal nature of the snake. So she didn't see Lucifer anymore. She saw the snake. Spiritual eye, carnal eye. So she pivoted her spiritual eye to the carnal eye, and she was able to see the shadow of Lucifer, which is the snake. And she was also able to see Lucifer's deception of that moment. So she was able to see, oh my goodness, that snake is deceptive and evil. So it's like her shock at like, wow, that's so messed up. Like she had her good intentions, but have you ever been in a situation where like you're doing something good for someone, but then if you really put yourself in their shoes, you realize, wow, they had ill will towards me all this time. So then there's that shock. That revelation of evil is shocking. So then she's like, wait, what kind of power does he have? Wait, what is this new power? What is this thing called manipulation, deception? You can lie? Like, you know, those kind of things become a temptation to covet, to want those things. So now her fall becomes focusing too much on the snake, and secretly her shadow is now wanting that power.
I get it. Yep.
And then she becomes the toxic feminine because she starts using those same exact tools.
Deception, the manipulation. Yes.
And her first manipulation is Adam. But she didn't know it. It was subconscious. She had a double mind by the time she invited Adam to bite. She wanted Adam to bite because secretly she did not want to suffer alone. She knew that this was death. And she wasn't thinking of Adam's welfare. She was thinking of her own. And what's ironic is that Adam was aligned with her thinking. But he's coming from like, I don't want my woman to suffer alone. Hers is, I don't want to suffer alone. But see, she's coming from the perspective of self, and he's coming from the perspective of self-sacrificing. So that spirit of compassion and self-sacrificing is later exemplified in Jesus Christ. And that's the silver lining. That's the miracle. That's the redemption story.
Let's remind ourselves that Lucifer was a good angel once upon a time ago. After the first curse he placed upon himself, he started spiraling downwards into what is now considered a disassociated state of being.
The serpent came to Eve. He had the perspective that God is God doubts.
Mm-hmm.
God will let you die. Like the snake legitimately thought that this was the lie, because the snake knew that if Eve bit, that God would destroy her. And then the woman who had the book of everlasting life embedded in her DNA said to the serpent, no, you're right. I mean, she said, you're right. God will not let me die.
Mm-hmm.
And she bites. So it's really a test between fear and faith. In that moment, when the snake approached Eve, it was the perspective of fearing God, and the perspective of faith in God.
Certification, which is not what we're doing. It's more of an internal certification, are usually within the company. There's external certification, which is what we're doing. There's like an industry certification, which I should like bold this because this is what we kind of want. We want to become like, because like, oh, you did this and you did for our course, and you can now do this as in like the industry. There's also education certification, which is just like what you get for high school, college, etc.
Wait, could we pause real quick?
Yeah.
Pause real quick. I think I love this because it gives you kind of like steps. Like we can't go from 0 to industry certification. I think we should start in our business plan. We can look into, well, let's first do the first type, which is certification for a specific industry or particular profession. So for our first certification, it'll just be for expressive writing.
Yeah.
And then it needs to be audited to establish certification credibility, which we can do through, I don't know, maybe a third party. I feel like if we use our for-profit, it might be a conflict of interest because it might be so, it's still under the same brand. It's like we're auditing ourselves. So.
Oh yeah, no, we can't.
Here.
Our programs leverage elements of cognitive behavioral therapy and narrative reframing. We provide 4 artist-inspired expressive writing programs. DIY expressive writing, roughly 3,000 unique visitors per month. Group expressive writing, 50 sessions at around 150 journal artists per month. Artist performance-inspired expressive writing sessions once a month. And the Producer's Playbook, 1-year program with lessons, workbooks, peer-to-peer community engagement, live workshops, and mentorship. Expressive writing is scientifically proven to boost emotional intelligence, increase self-esteem, improve mindfulness, and inspire meaningful connections for support in processing grief, trauma, and heartbreak.
They're so established over there. Like it's not, she's been doing that for, she's not even the ED anymore. It's like 30 years ago, I think is when she started it and grew it. So, I mean, it's not, I appreciate your integrity in that, but I don't think that's, I mean, you of course ask her. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I would love to. Thank you for the warm introduction.
When it's not too complicated, then it's not going to be intimidating. You know what I mean? If it's just words that are like, common, you're not trying to like sell them on a new word yet. You know what I mean? Because I like the idea of a vlogumentary. I like that. It's clever. But I think right now when we're just trying to, like, this is what we're going to do. You want to do that? Okay, cool.
I feel like technically all vlogs are vlogumentaries.
Yeah.
I like that though.
It's a vlogumentary, I know.
It has to be really happening and videotaped, which is, I guess, all the parameters necessary for a documentary. But then
Putting
the
a story
vlog-
on screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was lost, I was trying to find the answer in the world around me. Yeah, I was going crazy all day, all night. You were the only one who understood me and all that I was going through. Yeah, I just gotta tell you, oh baby, I can make it better, I can hold you tighter, 'cause still the morning, oh you're the light. And I almost lost you, but I can't forget you, 'cause you were the reason that I survived. You were there for me through all the times I cried. I was there for you, but then I lost my mind. I know that I messed up, but I promise oh, I can make it right.